and let us all do we can to build a better future. So, Daniel, have you been following along with the Twitter files?
Yeah.
It comes as no surprise to us that the government and Twitter were intertwined not only with the Hunter Biden laptop story, but with so much more. Now, again, it's not that, you know, we're not shocked. I think I'm more just surprised at the indifference that a lot of people have towards the story, especially.
Well, that's the thing that it sort of annoys me is that everyone. It's just like, all I feel are Trump and Clinton energies all over again. Doesn't matter what we're talking about. If it's a person that's deemed as a lightning rod, everyone already decides whether to believe them or not, and the evidence is irrelevant. So, you know, a lot of people don't like Musk, and therefore no one that doesn't like Musk wants to believe that this story is meaningful at all, even though I think we've been saying for years that this is happening, and people have told us, those same type of people, that you don't have any proof. It'd only be a big deal if you had proof, but you don't have any. And now that the proof has been out there and repeatedly brought up, all of a sudden no one cares because they're like, oh well, Musk is attached to it, so or that right winger Matt Taibbi, and we're just sitting here with our hands up, like, well, we've always sort of believed that the evidence speaks for itself, not who the evidence is connected to.
That's journalism 101 right there. But more importantly, it's using common sense and your precious brain cells. Because let's face it, folks, the FBI, not only was Twitter, right, but was also was Facebook too, did everything they could to make sure the Hunter Biden laptop story wasn't shared out. But that also should shine a light on everything else that's been silenced and suppressed. And look, I'm really curious to see about, I don't know, the shenanigans that's been happening with YouTube. Because, Daniel, we know firsthand that a lot of independent media has been silenced and suppressed. And I'm wondering, well, gee, if the FBI was this involved with Twitter, were other government institutions involved with the other social media platforms? I know it sounds crazy, but the evidence is out there. It's like that scene from The Dark Knight where the mayor's talking to Harvey Dent saying, oh, look out, they're going to come after you. And then comes that dead body of the Batman. There it is. The dead body's in front of us. It's showing, hey, this is happening here. This is going on. You cannot ignore it or dismiss it, but yet people are pretending to be stupid, or is it at calling us like, oh, well, you're right wingers or you're conspiracy theorists? How is it? Never mind. Anyways,
you're right. You're right on all of that. It just gets me because it's just like, you know, when it was Clinton versus, it's the same exact idea. When it was Clinton versus Trump, all I saw were two sides that acted exactly the same, just opposite reactions. If Clinton said something stupid, all the followers of Clinton would say it was the smartest thing that's ever been said. If Trump said something stupid, all the Trump people would say it's the smartest thing that he's ever said. And I just worry that, like, people are like, I hate Elon so much that people are perceiving it the same way that people did with Clinton. We're missing a big story because people can't get over hatred of an individual. Versus information learned that happened even before they took over Twitter. That's sort of always been my thing with Elon. He's always been a lightning rod, but I feel like I've always tried to like pick apart what's actually there. And so I'm really happy the Twitter files that he basically leaked that data to make that happen. Yep. I don't like others. I don't like other stuff, but I can separate that out. I'm just very worried that, again, all of mainstream media is not covering it. Every reporter that was on the other side of the issue is like, well, it's not really news, blah, blah, blah. And then you have other people that like Elon that are like, this is the smartest stuff ever. I just wish we had something more unified because it just feels like we're picking these stories based on the individual. And that always has seemed really stupid to me as a way to live.
I agree. Let me pull up this video here. This is from The Rising. And it has to deal with, again, about the Twitter files. It's a recent drop. And by the way, as a side note, please check out Fair and Balanced as well, because she has also done a outstanding analysis on the Twitter files as well. And she hosts the show with me on Monday, so please check that out when you have the chance. But let's go ahead and play this video here.
You know, people point out, well, we don't know that the people who had the laptop at the FBI and who were monitoring Giuliani were the same people that were warning Twitter of the hack and leak operation. We don't know if the people warning Twitter of the hack and leak operation knew about the laptop or about Giuliani and the surveillance. But they didn't need to know. They just needed to be following orders from higher ups in the FBI who almost certainly did know about it. And that's why we need a proper investigation, either by Congress or by a special prosecutor, because the FBI is such an important law enforcement organization. It's the organization that, well, obviously, it's playing this important role in terms of providing information or misinformation, as the case was, to Twitter. Also, the organization we rely on to clean up police departments. We do not want a politicized FBI. Nobody should want a politicized FBI. Nobody on the right, nobody on the left should want that. And you're right, in terms of the computer repairman, one of the things that the former head of Twitter's safety department said in an interview with Kara Swisher a few weeks ago, he said he was kind of a weird guy. He has a lazy eye, and so he looks a little different. He's a Trump supporter, and I think those things all sort of had an influence on people. But here he had the receipt with Hunter Biden's signature on it. He had a subpoena from the FBI showing they had taken the laptop. So, yeah, I think that this is very fishy, and maybe there's nothing there, but this needs to be looked into, because if there was some sort of effort to basically prepare people mentally to dismiss what the FBI knew would eventually come out, that's illegal. That's actually interfering in an election and also potentially covering up criminal activity that was on the computer itself.
Now, I want everyone to understand what was just shared with all of us right here, right now through that video. Honestly, this is the most perfect situation. If I was Donald Trump and I hired a proper campaign team, this is the perfect political ammunition to use against Democrats, corporate media, if done properly and executed in a way that constantly discredits CNN, MSNBC, the Democratic Party. This is something in which they can never recover from. Now, me saying these words is not an endorsement of Trump, but we do this show here to give political analysis, commentary, coverage on many stories, and we've been doing this since 2017. It would be unfair of us, and it wouldn't be correct of us for us not to highlight this very important issue, that there is a possibility of not only election tampering taking place, but also for the fact that this has been going on even before the 2020 campaign. This has been going on during the Trump presidency, and even before then, of social media and the establishment working together, intertwined, to dictate what you, the people, can and cannot see. It's these institutions, big tech, corporate media, the two-party system, yes, Democratic and Republican lawmakers, dictating to you, the American people, well, you're too stupid to figure this out, so we're going to think it for you. We don't want you to think critically. Daniel, your thoughts?
Yeah, again, everyone seems to be, I saw someone comment this earlier quite well, everyone seems to be already falling back into their red-blue alliance.
Yep.
And, one side's over there, one side's over there. No one cares about the truth in the middle. No one cares about the lies on their sides. Only the lies that they see on someone else's, which aren't always even lies. So, Trump has said for a long time that election interference. Do I think that Trump was just saying that to say something, to have a reason? Yeah. Does it turn out that he might be right? Maybe. I don't know. It's not a 0% chance. But it's also not really, we can't do anything about it until more information comes out. Anyway,
correct.
We can just conject. But if we conject, all we're doing is doing the same thing I was talking about previously.
Correct.
So, and then again, it's I gotta admit, Twitter has been more interesting than it's ever been recently. But it's even with the Twitter Fest, that's mainly what I've been watching, kind of how that all's played out. It's such a shame that, I'll go through all the tweets from either Taibbi or whoever else is, doing them, and all the comments, it's people aren't going, let's talk a little more about these leaks and what they mean, what they might mean, what they might do. Mm-hmm. It's either Elon is a genius for letting this information come out, or Elon is evil and this information doesn't mean anything. And I think both of those extremes are nothing but extremes. They don't get us anywhere. They don't move the dialogue forward. They don't even help us. It is, if anything, it's just giving Twitter more metrics when people fight like that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't know if Twitter's going to survive. I don't know if Elon is going to... He's talked about stepping down. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if that is going to happen. But what I do know is there are leaks that have very important information that
Correct.
bring up the thing that we talk about quite a bit on the show, and that's the government putting its hands where they shouldn't be and pretending they aren't.
And by the way, everything that Daniel said there, I want everyone to listen very carefully. And if need be, rewind that part of the video again, because Daniel and I'm pretty sure everyone else who's critically looked at the Twitter files, we're asking you to think critically. Don't go in your comfort zone, your little safe space of Team Red or Team Blue, or I hate Elon or I love Elon. It doesn't matter. The bigger picture is you have powers like big tech, social media, corporate media, the two-party system dictating what can be presented to the American people. And it surprises me. Maybe it doesn't surprise me anymore, but sometimes I get disappointed. I think that's the word. Disappointed at the inaction and the indifference of the American people towards this. It's like...
not even the gamification of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I just have to say, any other country, the people would have rioted. It's amazing how much abuse the average citizen will sit there and take from the powers that be and be like, okay, I'm sorry I talked back. Oh, I'm sorry I didn't get you your sandwich and a nice cold beer. I mean, that's how I'm looking at most average American voters, because people have been successfully brainwashed. And I am thoroughly impressed at what the Republican Party has done, the Democratic Party has done, big tech and corporate media in brainwashing the populace into not thinking critically and not saying, oh my God, we're being spied in on. Because my goodness, yeah. The press doesn't exist. We have institutions controlling the press. We have so much more that's failing us, and it's just I get disappointed, and I just can't help but think back at all the times, and we've lost friends, Daniel, you and I. We've lost friends in our own right by people saying, oh, well, you guys are being conspiracy theorists, or you're secretly a Trump supporter. It's like, no, I'm not a Trump supporter. But obviously, 2016, I saw the writing on the wall. It's 50-50. Hey, there's a 50-50 chance this orange clown can win this. Hey, also, everyone paying attention now, if Trump really wanted to surround himself with smart people, but that means also people challenging him critically, though. If Trump really wanted to put together a strong campaign, he has enough political ammunition to destroy anything that the vote blue, no matter who crowd, holds dear to their heart. And if that makes me a bad guy in your book, take a good long look in your mirror. I'm just saying, hey, heads up. You're about to get decked in the jaw again for not getting a cold beer and a nice sandwich ready.
Yeah, I think that it's something we should each number ourselves. Like, I try to look at... Like, I feel like for me, I'm sort of... I never really got into crowd mentality. It sort of isolated me, like in the way Kit was saying, where people will be like, well, the tide's now turning for Hillary, and your Bernie guy, like in 2016, isn't there anymore. And we're still like, yeah, the fact that Bernie's not in the race doesn't change the fact why we wouldn't vote for Hillary. That we're not going to do it because we're principled. We said we wouldn't because she has this, and this policies. And we're not going to. Not because of who she's running against or who dropped out, but because that's what we said we cared about. And again, I just worry that we increasingly put ourselves in a camp of black and white when it blinds us to the reality, which is almost entirely gray when it comes down to it. Like, just like for me, like I think on one hand, Elon Musk has done stuff with electric cars that are really good and rockets that are really good. But I can also hold that to how he treats his workers, the way he fired people, the way that he is just by the amount of money he has, his connections with the government. Like, I hold all of those in one hand because I think they're easily held in one hand. He's a gray person who does black and white and gray things, just like every other person that's ever existed. And I want to know what he's going to do next so we can either try and help it or stop it, depending on what it is, but it's case by case. I will never put myself in a position with anyone where I'm going to see them in only one way because that's not how the world works. And so, like, Kate, what you're saying, like, we've lost friends because we wouldn't go, Trump is an evil person, just as bad as Hitler, just as bad as the devil. Anyone who says his name in without hate should be crucified. We're always been like, he's a funny guy to listen to, terrible policy, but not that drastically different from anyone else he's running against. He just speaks differently than other people do. In fact, I think, generally speaking, the news media has been trying for a while to make another Trump news cycle thing happen.
Yeah.
I genuinely think they found Elon Musk. That's why I think, personally, most people are upset at Elon. Isn't because of what he's actually done. Is you can compare him to any oil tycoon, any Saudi prince. We don't give them the amount of crap we give him. And I always found that interesting. But then again, I just rules for rulers him. Who are his enemies? Well, the biggest one is actually the news media.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, the biggest one that started, I did a whole thing on this like 3 or 4 years ago. That the biggest source of advertising from television is car commercials. And he doesn't advertise cars on TV at all. They don't have a marketing budget for that. So from the news point of view, Tesla pulls money directly out of their advertising budget. And I just, he's on the other side of big oil. He's on the other side of news media. And it's like, okay, let him do his thing. I'm not going to support all of it. Not going to be against all of it. Not going to like him. But Twitter files exist.
Yep, whether you like it or not, it is a real thing. Look, if you want to see a video, I don't have time to play it right now, but if you want to see a video just how exactly Twitter and Facebook silence a story, it's in the show notes, but it's a video made by Matt Orfala. Boy, oh boy, does he had a finger on the pulse. And hey, Bernie, why'd you fire Matt? Because you know what? It upset some social justice warriors. Look, here's the thing, and I'm just going to say this again. To everyone that still has Trump derangement syndrome or just hates Elon or whatever,
let's just call it what it is: puritanical viewpoints.
Yeah. Okay. So anyone, and this goes for Republican voters and Democratic voters. Listen. You are being suckered into this, and you're stuck in a domestic abusive relationship with the two-party system, and you're ignoring the bigger story. And this one specifically goes out to a lot of the Democratic activists, especially the social justice warriors, vote blue no matter who people. Look, a lot of you guys have been silent in regards towards how, again, nothing has fundamentally changed under the Biden-Harris administration. All these activists and organizers, they're nowhere to be seen. And what I got to say to them is this. When Trump runs again in 2024, and I'm willing to bet his campaign will be up and running in 2024. Guess what? You finally have your job again. You can be relevant again on social media because now your bread and butter is back. So without Trump, none of those people would be in existence.
It's like I fight for a system that makes more sense than this. That's it. The system doesn't. I mean, it makes sense, but like to who? I don't like how. We should be going after billionaires. We should be taking out the number of billionaires, but we should be doing it in a way that actually is going to do something. If we just focus on one person at a time, then sure, we can whack-a-mole one at a time, even though that never really works. But then someone takes their place immediately after. It's the same problem, and effectively we're doing... Like, I shouldn't say we. I mean, a lot of the audience, most of the audience know. But I mean, like, you watch, like, TYT and other places... It's like watching the CIA just explain why they need to coup a country. It's its own derangement syndrome in its own way. I just don't like the mindset of not thinking critically on all subjects and just going into a sports team mentality.